everybody. Welcome to another episode of Exhibit A Attorneys, where we interview attorneys and other experts across the country to talk about what it truly takes to be the Exhibit A of a successful lawyer. Today, joining me, I've got Danya Shakfeh. Shakfeh. Yes, that one.
Shakfeh.
Shakfeh.
The second one, yeah, Shakfeh.
Exactly, as we had a whole joke before this about how both of our names are pronounced exactly the way that they're spelled, but people get them wrong. So my apologies. But really interesting topic today from a very interesting person. We're talking about creating the dream, the art of business. So how you can put yourself into this to really make business into somewhat of an art form, how it looks different, how it appeals to the right person. For those of you that don't know Danya, she believes that business is an art and a form of self-expression. As a business lawyer and law firm owner, she knows how important it is for entrepreneurs to have the right team to help with growth and strategy. Otherwise, business owners cannot focus on building their dream. This is where she comes in to help protect businesses and to help build that team of advisors. And I got to be honest, I always love talking with business lawyers because so like from our perspective, we end up like doing meta marketing, right? Like we have to do our own marketing well because we do marketing for other people. So for business lawyers, I'm like, you have to run a good business because you're dealing with other people that probably don't run a good business, but to help them get to running a good business. And it always becomes like the most fascinating conversations because of how involved you are with your business in their business.
Yeah. I can start with that. Like, for example, business contracts, I don't look at them as business contracts. I see it as a form of helping my clients create a business strategy. Like the way that you want to build your clients or the relationship that you want to have with your own clients, that's your business model. And so, anyone can pick up a template online or create a template, but I really sit down with my clients and I ask them what their goals are, what their cash flow is like. And we talk through some creative strategies on how to have a business model, make sure that it works for them. And that shows up in the business contract. Now, not all of that shows up in the business contract. Part of the value that I bring is to have those conversations with my clients so that even if certain things don't need to be in the contract, they have those questions in the back of their mind and like, oh, I need to address these things. So that's like kind of the first thing that I do to help my clients in their business from a legal perspective.
Well, I love that you start with the contract because you sit in a very different spot than I sit from the expertise standpoint. But it's so funny. Like I will talk to all these lawyers. So because like we'll design their intake system. So we will not write their contract or edit their contract, anything like that, but we will send it out. And there's like all these attorneys that have a 35-page, incredibly legalese heavy business contract. And anytime we're like, why? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, have you ever sued a client over the business stuff? Well, no, my malpractice won't let me in the bar and this and that. I'm like, then what is with heretofore there beeth these two parties which shall haveth the future of whatever. And like you're laughing. It always cracks me up.
Yeah.
And then you wonder like how many clients read it, which is probably minimal, but two, like how many then don't sign it because it sounds so aggressive versus I love that you're taking this like holistic view of how does that frame the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, my retainer, I think, is like 2 pages. And the purpose, I always tell like the purpose is just so that we know what the terms are. And I tell my clients this too, sometimes it's not even about what ends up in court, because that's a whole other thing. It's just because since I have done some litigation, I know that people fight over things beyond the contract. And sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. Oh, I thought we were paying for this, or I thought whatever it is. And I tell my clients first and foremost, sometimes just to make sure that you all agree on what's going on, because that by itself, it could save you, a lawsuit. And I really also consider who the audience of the contract is. If it's business to consumer, it doesn't need to be intimidating. And I admit at first I felt weird writing contracts with like just basic English, and it made me feel unsophisticated. Like this sounds like anybody could write this, which is not true. It's actually harder to write a legal document in like everyday language. Like imagine trying to write an indemnity clause, in layperson language. And so I think that's a consideration too, but sometimes people want to sound all fancy and, sophisticated. If, it's a business to business contract, you might want to just, part of it is optics, but I like to be more practical and like, how is this contract or this document is going to help you in your day-to-day business, not how cool you sound.
Well, it's like a bell curve, right? Like at the beginning, you know nothing, it sounds normal, and then you start learning some stuff, so you want to make it, more impactful, more lawyerly, and then you realize, no, wait, now I know it well enough to go back to explaining it like a normal human person would. So
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that.
that's a really good way of putting it.
As we continue on to talk about the art of business and how you're working with your clients, I really want to get into your story. I know you shared that you from Tampa, USF, but like tell everybody, who is Danya?
Well, so my parents are from Syria, they're immigrants, and my father is a physician. And being a lot of Syrian doctors, I'm sure a lot, if you know a doctor, there's a decent chance that they're from Syria. And anyways, so I kind of grew up, I didn't know anything about the law. I'm actually the first lawyer in my family in the US, and so it's very different. There are a lot of things I didn't know. And I grew up in Florida. I moved to Illinois in 2008. I have 3 kids. I graduated during the Great Recession, which was fantastic, especially
Just in time.
just in time. And being in a different state too made it just even funner because I didn't have a network. So I really had to hustle my way. I mean, I literally put on a suit and I would go to different law firms and I'd pass out my resume. I didn't know what else to do. And yeah, I got 3 kids and I just really love business. I mean, it's a passion of mine, like I said, or, like you had mentioned, for me, it's an art form, it's an expression, of oneself. So like at the beginning, when I first started practicing or when I first hung my shingle, I thought I had to do everything that other people were doing because that's just how you're supposed to do it. And that's what a good lawyer does. I didn't know any better. And then as I practiced more and I understood what was really going on, I was like, no, I can do things the way I want to do it. And so I even just recently got a new office and I told my designer, I don't want any mahogany. I want it to look different. I've been paperless for a long time, for example, I think well before COVID. And so like doing things differently is like, yeah, you can do things differently. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess. I don't know if there's more to me.
Of course, there's more to you. No, why business law? You've got the family in medicine coming over here. Obviously, the family of immigrants from that standpoint. What about business law piqued your interest?
I think part of it, like what a lot of lawyers will say, it was part of my first job. But I also slowly just started to fall in love with it, because as a business owner myself, for the reasons that I have my own business, I wanted to help other business owners, have access to the information that I have. I don't think that there should be, like we're sort of looking for gatekeeper. I mean, I think people should have access to, to like legal services, and not only that, but it's okay to have that I think over time I realized that my perspective is also valuable, and too, because being I'm a minority, I'm female. I moved in my 20s to a different state, and so just helping people in a way where I wish I had help is really something that I like to contribute to. And it's just fascinating too to watch people grow. I think in law we tend to think of it as like more something that you do, like you hire a lawyer if you're on the defense, like if you have a problem. But for me, I'm like, well, you can like, but like with like business owners and entrepreneurs, like they're like their problem isn't the problem. It's like they're trying to grow, they're trying to expand. So that's actually way more fun than trying to deal with like, a lawsuit or someone who has a problem, which that's obviously we all have problems. I'm not trying to take away from that, but it's a different world, helping people grow.
I love what you said. Their problem isn't the problem. But it's true. Like it's the symptom of an underlying issue or an underlying want or an underlying need.
Yeah. So people want to have their businesses, they want to grow. So it's not a problem. Well, I mean, it's something to work on. I guess maybe my problem isn't the right word, but it's more, I don't want to say it's offensive, but you're not on the defense in that case.
Well,
Yeah.
It's like, paying whatever it is for a contract to be done well versus the litigation behind it, or getting
exactly
your hiring stuff in place, or getting your HR put together. I mean, these are all things you can do proactively. to prevent a ton of angry emails, litigation,
Yes.
lawsuits, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I love the concept you're talking about, like getting these business owners to figure out what sort of relation they want with clients, to frame it in the contract, those things. But I want to take a step back from that. Like when you're sitting down with your clients, how do you help them figure out what that like larger goal is so you can design the right contract language for them or the right series of offerings for them?
So interestingly enough, I actually start asking them some personal questions about their lives. I know that I think maybe this was more common pre-COVID, and I think that COVID changed this, but we want to compartmentalize our lives. Like there's personal and then there's professional, and you can't have any overlap. But that's just not how reality works. Our businesses do impact our personal lives. So first, I want to figure out what's the most valuable thing to my clients. Of course, some it's their time. Sometimes it's, excuse me, like it's their money, it's their reputation, it's their vision, whatever it is. And then I start from there. So if I know for someone, for example, who's a single mom, I find that time is their most valuable asset because they also want to take care of their kids. And so I start from there and I say, okay, well, if time is your most valuable asset, well, here's how we can help like streamline your business so that you have the most time available. And then from there, I just get curious. I can't say I don't have a specific strategy. I just ask questions until I see what the most important thing is. And I also like uncover problems that they have. Like they say, a lot of my clients don't pay me. I'm like, okay, great. Let's try to figure out why. And I actually had one of my clients call his past clients and say, why did you pay me? Or why did you not pay me? And to like learn like what the problem is and see how they can fix that. So is that a legal problem? No. But if I'm going to write a contract and I'm going to say, okay, like, like these payments are due at a certain time, I want to make sure that these people are paying and they're not, and or why and why not, and how we can fix that for them.
See, I knew I liked you. Danya and I have talked for years on online comments here, whatever. I love the fact, like that first, what's most important to you? I think that is such a strong question that like every business should ask all of their clients, because it's such an easy way to at least start the process of you customizing the need for them. So, identifying who cares more about money, who cares more about time, who cares about, setting the client in the position to be able to pay versus getting paid everything so quickly and whatever. That is it's such a simple question, but such a strong one. I love it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are afraid to ask those questions of their clients. It might seem intrusive. And I get that, but I found that my clients have been pretty receptive to answering those questions. They didn't find it intrusive and they actually appreciate it. So.
Well, and I always from a market, or I guess maybe not even marketing, from a business perspective, like the lawyer who comes in and is like, okay, this is the contract you need with no questions. And then, 3 years later, it has to be amended and there's a quote versus LegalZoom for so much cheaper. Versus with you, it's like, oh, wait, no, she actually knows me. Like we actually had a conversation. She really got to know me. Like that relationship leads to better work, but it also leads to a better relationship that allows clients to want to work with you more frequently.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So where else do we see this, this art of business, this creating the dream? Like obviously, it's in the contract, it's in these conversations, but where else does that come up to be so common or not common?
I think that too, it's just bringing yourself and your the person that you are to the table. And so again, like I was saying before, is that we like to compartmentalize our lives into personal and business. But I think that especially nowadays, people are more receptive to hearing people's personal stories and their why and their motivation. And so like, and then flaws, like, so for example, I struggle, I have a speech impediment, I stutter. And for the longest time, I never talked about it, even though people can hear me stutter. It seems kind of silly to not mention it. But then I started to view it as a strength. And then I talk about how it's, it's a struggle for me, and that's okay. And some people might care for it and some people don't, and that's okay. That's just who I am. Another aspect too is that, and this might sound really silly, but when I first started practicing, I tried to be like a white male. So it's just, I thought
Oh,
those
overly
lawyers,
confident and not knowing what you're doing, just winging it all. Like I'm
something
like,
like that. But I had to present a certain, like, so I did the wood and I did some of the mahogany, and I was like, this is how lawyers talk, and this is and I was like, but it felt so fake, and I didn't even know how to do it right, I think. So I'm just like, what, I am who I am. I am a minority, I'm a mom. I actually, even when I had my first kid, I didn't tell any of my clients that I was pregnant or I had a baby. And I was back in court a week after, that I had a baby, and it was awful. And actually wrote an article about it. And it's just like, yeah, I have kids, and, do my kids interfere with my business? No, I actually view it as a strength. Like, I'm really good at time management. I'm really good at, organizing my priorities. And I have to, because I'm a mom. And to me, that's a strength. And again, and like, there are people who care for it, and some, people who don't, but just not viewing our flaws as just a flaw, but how we can use it as a strength, and that it's okay to talk about our differences, and that is valuable to people.
thank you so much for sharing that. I want to go a little bit deeper, because like, look, I get people bitching at me about the Hawaiian shirt. Like, I can't take you seriously. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. I will do a million other things to piss you off. You're talking about it from the minority perspective, from the mom perspective, from the female perspective. Like, I mean, I'm imagining you're going to get even more strong feelings from people. Walk me through like how you have become okay with that. I think we all struggle with this at times, but like, what are some of the things that help you kind of get through that I need to be a white male perspective?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if I've ever thought about it or articulated that process. I think it started with me just being sick of pretending something that I'm not, or excuse me, like to be something that I'm not. It becomes exhausting after a while. And two, I didn't like it. I mean, I like to connect with people. I like to tell my story, not, and I really like, well, I like to relate to people. And I like to join communities. Like, if I have a problem or something, I'm like, well, let me see if there's a Facebook about people who are struggling with X, Y problem, and see what I can learn. Because that's how we connect. When we can't connect if we don't talk about ourselves. And because of that desire, I found myself wanting to connect, not just with my clients, but the way I connect with other lawyers and other professionals. So that's part of it. So just being, just being exhausted, just not liking it, that feeling of kind of being cookie cutter. And also just, and also I like to help people too. And people have helped me, like, they've paid it forward, but we can't help each other if we don't talk about what we're struggling with. And I'm not saying that we all have to like sit in therapy and, cry and kumbaya, but it's like, okay, well, I have this issue, who else is having this issue, and how can we help each other?
Well, I always go back to Brene Brown's got the thing about how the thing that we share that makes people bond with us immediately is our vulnerability. The thing that we want to share the least, though, is our vulnerability. So it's right there.
And I would say that my perspective of what being vulnerable has changed too. When I used to think of the word vulnerable, like people could take advantage of me. I had my guard up, right? We don't want to share our problems because people might laugh at us or think it's silly or whatever it is. But I think as I got older too, I start to get over those fears. And also I realized that just because someone knows my weakness, it doesn't mean that they can use it against me. It's up to me if they can use it against me. So I think the word vulnerability, I think, has a bad rap. So just seeing that we can be more in control because we are responsible for ourselves.
I love that. Well, and to go back, you talked about it from the standpoint of business owner, like without doing things the way they want to, business owners struggle with cannot focus on building their dream. So having gone through, a little bit of this understanding, I have to imagine your relationship with your clients became so much better.
Yeah. I mean, I encourage them to come to me for anything. Even if I can't help them, I tell them, like, hey, if you need a handyman, like, let me know. And I have a network of people, because I know them at at a deeper level. And they see me as someone who can help them as a human versus just, here's a document that I wrote for you, and then you can sign it. Like, we're all robots. Here you go, and have a nice life.
Well, and look, it's a great opportunity to give more referrals, to get more referrals. It's a great opportunity to
Absolutely.
help somebody else out get their business. It's a great opportunity to help the person who needs the help to connect them to the handyman. I mean, it's a win-win-win situation from there. And I mean, it sounds like it's something you genuinely enjoy too.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. I think I believe in win-win. I think there's enough, business for everybody. We don't all always have to be competitors. It's just being your best and and taking it from there.
So what would you say to a fellow lawyer who's still stuck in that struggle of needing to be a lawyer, be a white man, be who they're not? Like, how do we give them the kick in the butt to help them, get through that?
I'm not sure if it can be done with words.
Okay.
I don't know, like fear isn't something that you can reason with. But rather I would show them that there are lawyers like yourself, I would say, that there are lawyers who are just completely killing it, just being themselves, owning who they are. And once one and then, like, to add to your previous question too, is that when I saw other lawyers who were different and whatever they were, like they could be ethnic minorities, or maybe they were neurodiverse or whatever it is, they all but like by finding other lawyers who are doing well as they are, I think that's what I would do. I would show them this community of people who are being successful.
Well, one, thank you. And two, I love it. So now, like, you and I need to be even more out there and active so other people can see the Hawaiian shirt guy, the female minority, whatever. Like, I love that concept of like truly walking the walk, but in a way where you're pulling other people behind you or letting them draft behind you to
Yeah,
accomplish the same stuff.
100%. You just show them a different way.
I love it. All right, so you've got these business owner clients. You're helping them, create their dream. You're working with them on this stuff. You're putting the contract stuff together. Like, what does that process look like at the back end? Like, what's the transformation that you want to bring to your clients ideally?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you rephrase it?
Sure. So you've got this business owner who calls you, their problem isn't really their problem. They've got something else going on. They're bringing you in to help with this. You're diving deeper into their business. Like, how do you know that you're doing a good job for them? What does their business look like as they use their services? What does that transformation to their life look like? How do they know they're on the right track to creating that dream?
So when I have them come for the consultation, I start with this, or excuse me, like with the line of questioning about like what's important to them at a personal level. And then at that point, I can assess whether they need my services or somebody else's services, or maybe they don't need like legal services at all. I find for some clients, I'm like, I don't think you really need my services, or I'm not the best fit for you, or that they have like a non-legal solution. So that's the start. And then for a lot of my clients, like or excuse me, like like depending on the service that I provide, is I have a follow-up meeting with them. I call it, or excuse me, I call it a strategy session, where we delve even deeper to their business model and their needs. So specifically, like if I'm running a contract for them, I really need that strategy session. And that's where I delve even deeper, and I have them send me more things. And then I do whatever it is that I need to do. And then, and then after major milestones, like we have, like someone from the office call them and ask them how we're doing. Like we actually ask for their feedback. And then at the end of the matter, we also ask them for their feedback.
And
And
speaking of fear,
it's hard sometimes because you're like, did I do a good job? And there are people who pretend they're happy with you, and they don't complain. So that's why I don't do those calls myself. I actually have my assistant do it so that they feel comfortable, say, she really could have improved here. Most of my clients are satisfied. And then there are the clients who maybe were critical, but they give me like a glowing review. So it's just good to just not assume and just straight up ask them, like, how did we do? And yeah, be open to feedback.
yeah, I love that you share that in both directions. We had a client that I thought we got a great resolution for on a property damage thing. I don't think the client felt it was a great resolution, just based upon lack of communication, and then or lack of response from them. And then for the holidays, they sent us a really nice gift basket with a so over the top, wonderful, appreciative card, like a very nice basket, but the card just like spoke to my heart. And it was like, I just want to let you know, sometimes I struggled with voicing for you how much I appreciate this, but like really this money has changed my life. The resolution of having a vehicle, this whole thing. I was crying.
That's awesome.
But you're right, because normally it's the other way. Normally it's like they won't say anything and then they'll complain to all their friends. Every now and then though, it is the reverse. So I love that you've identified that you're asking for the feedback and that you're having your assistant do it so that they feel they can be more honest. I don't know if that's maybe the
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think maybe it's easier for people to tell somebody else as they don't want to, which is, it's okay. They don't want to hurt my feelings and I appreciate it. But, I always joke with people, I'm like, I'm a lawyer. You can't really hurt my feelings.
Yes, but it's funny because I feel like there's that section of the population that is like, oh, let me try to hurt their feelings more now. They're a lawyer. They can take this.
True. Yeah.
We have
no. Yeah. I mean, we like, we do have feelings, but it's just, it's a way to make them feel more comfortable. Like, just tell me. I don't know. But no, I mean, I have had my feelings hurt for sure.
It makes sense, but hopefully it is fewer and far between as you continue to, focus on the right client, do the work, ask for feedback, implement the feedback, get better, etc.
For sure.
So how have these changes impacted your life? I mean, from having these clients, from getting this feedback, from creating the dream for your business?
It's really allowed me to feel more confident in my own skin with all my imperfections and my strengths. I don't feel like I have to pretend anymore. I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't doing this giant pretending to be anything, really. It wasn't, but it's like I can be who I am, and I know that there are people who are looking for lawyers like me. I mean, because I do ask, my clients, why did you choose me? And they'll tell me, I love working with minorities. I mean, these will be like white people, and they're like, well, we're actually looking for someone different. And to know that there are people who are looking for some, like a different type of feel or vibe or whatever, makes me feel like, like I wasted so much time trying to do something that I didn't want to do because I thought that's how you were supposed to do it. So I feel more comfortable and confident. And I also feel like I can help other people better because I know what I'm bringing to the table now. And I know that it's valuable.
Yeah, I always try to hammer to my clients. I was like, find the things about you that are magnetic. And I say that from the standpoint of like a magnet with the same poles repels and with the opposite poles attracts. So like finding those things that will drive the right people away, but will attract the right people too. It just becomes so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like you have clients that truly want you. They're not just price shopping or window shopping for a lawyer to do, one little thing.
Right. Yes. For sure. It is more fun. I will say that. I think fun's a great word to describe that experience.
So obviously, a component of this is who you are, is putting yourself out there. Talk to me about how you're doing that from a marketing perspective, or talk to me about what other things your business does to attract the right people and repel the right people.
So very similar to what I said before. I mean, I can start with my own office. It's different. It's like the way, I mean, you can see like my blue wall, which I still have to hang up some stuff.
Listen, mine's darker, but I got a blue wall behind me too.
I like it. Kind of looks like a green screen, but it's actually a blue wall. But my furniture is different. Just everything is different, and I even tell my employees, like, it's okay to be yourselves too. Of course, we want to be professional, but be yourself. I'm not looking for people to be who they're not. In my marketing, I like to do different tactics. So where I can do a video, I'll do a video. Even actually in my contract reviews, I got a lot of really good feedback. Is that I do the redlining, but I also do like a Loom video where it's a screen recording where I explain everything. And I do that with opposing counsel and I do that with my clients. And I've had really good feedback from both of them. And I'm surprised more people don't do it, because if you're on the receiving end of all this red line, it's really confusing. Like, you just want someone to explain it to you. So, I take 10-15 minutes to do that. And so just being creative in those ways, like, why aren't other lawyers doing it? Well, I don't know, but I know it works really well and I've had really good feedback. So it's kind of that mentality of just doing things differently so that my clients can have a better experience and my employees can have a better experience.
So along those lines, and please, this is 100% supportive of you. Like with the speech impediment and sending the video, like how did you psych yourself up to do that the first time?
When I'm alone, I don't really stutter as much. It's really
Okay.
more around, it's just weird. I don't know. It's a habit, like we were talking before about habit. I'm trying to view stuttering as a habit. I think it's just something that my body does. I don't know why people don't know why people stutter. I have my triggers, but that hasn't been the issue. But speaking in public, like that's kind of more about, my triggers. But yeah, when I'm alone, I don't have that problem, but you can always edit. That's a nice thing about videos is you can edit and you can start all over. And so yeah.
Well, in that case, I'm sorry then.
Why are you sorry?
From you not being alone for the video.
Oh, no, don't be sorry. No, not at all. It's just something that I've learned to just, it is what it is. Like I can't hide. And over the years with therapy and everything, I'm able to manage it. But it's just, what am I supposed to do? Just sit in a corner all day and feel sorry for myself? I'm not going to do that.
Listen, I totally agree with you and totally supportive. There are so many people I talk to that check any demographic box, whatever, that will come up with some reason to prevent themselves from putting themselves out there, being uncomfortable, trying to overcome stuff. So I wish that there were more lawyers willing to have the courage that you've had to be themselves, to be themselves loudly, to push for what they want, to create the dream, the art of business. There's so many lawyers, I think, that one day look back on their lives and are just miserable because they were always trying to be somebody else.
Yeah. I think like living with regret is probably the most painful thing to do. I'd rather know that I tried something and I couldn't do it versus never knowing if I could.
It's true. So when did you said you had 3 kids, and that you were pregnant with your first kid during having your firm, right?
Yes. So I had my kids back to back. So I wasn't working really full time at that time. I went to focus on my kids. So I had a kid in 2012, 2014, and 2016.
Oh, there we go.
So my youngest now, she just turned 6. But I was pregnant during that time, and I appreciated the flexibility of being able to scale my business, around my kids so that I could, be there for them in those younger years.
Well, and that's like I started my firm in 2015. My kid was born in 2018. And I feel like exactly what you're talking about, like cutting through so much of the BS and like really looking at what's important, was 2018. Like having him, I was like, oh, I can't work 80 hours a week, hating every minute of it, and then like also raise a child. So I don't know if you had the same perspective or not.
I think that I knew that going in. But it was like, it did change why I was in business, because now there's other people involved. Like anytime I see my kids and then I can get something nice for them, it's like, because I worked for that. But even more so is that my kids come to my office, like I might cry. And, I just got this office like literally last week. I've been working on it for a while. And my son saw pictures and he was like, "This is all yours, Mama? This is yours?" And I was like, he's like, "You're so successful." He's like 10. And I was just like, they have this really good example of someone who is working for them and being strong for them. And I said I would cry. But it's just a really good, it's just, I love that they're proud of me.
Well, it's like so much of what you shared is you like setting the example for other lawyers to be happy, setting the example for your kids to see, that you can have it all as a parent. You can be successful with everything else. I love that you're, walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
no
you're a great example too. I really genuinely love your Hawaiian shirt. Like I love it.
Well, thank you. And I won't move my screen, but over there I have a bunch of like Star Wars and Marvel figures. So anytime my kid has to come to the office, he looks forward to it now. He's like, "Dad, I want to go. There's so many things I can play with."
Well, look at that. Who would have thought you could be a good lawyer and like Star Wars and wear a Hawaiian shirt?
But meanwhile, how many of my clients on marketing company and law firm are like, "Oh my God, you're not the stuffy idiot in the suit. You've got some personality." It's these things that set us apart, that we can have fun with, that we can truly be who we are, and that we can business expense some random Star Wars figure that I tracked down.
Exactly.
Win. It's
Win,
going
win,
into
win. I
content.
love it. Yeah, I love it.
So I know you talked about like us, setting the example for others, getting out there, helping other people realize that they can be happy with a firm, happy with a business. Is there anything else that we can do to keep kind of pushing this forward, from your perspective as a female, as a minority, as a business owner, as a business law firm owner? Like how can we help more business owners be happy as they run businesses?
I would say that for those, if you are starting your own law firm or if you're a new lawyer, is talk to no, what's the word? Go online. I found some of the most, I think that's how we met, just through like Facebook. Like there are communities of lawyers outside the bar. I mean, I think it depends on the bar itself, but outside the bar too, we're not like a formal band of attorneys, but there are a lot of like the same names that I run into online. And just go and just find those communities of these lawyers who are just doing things differently, and just know that they are out there and they're doing well and they're happy. I used to think that I hated being a lawyer, and like, being a baby, well, I don't like the term baby lawyer, but like when I first graduated, I met all these lawyers who just hated their jobs. And there are lawyers who are happy because they made it work for them. But first, you just have to start with being honest with yourself about what you want, and then find those people who are doing it, and just cling to them like with your dear life and learn from them.
I love that. And I will take that a step farther, because look, you want to be connected with people that do the same stuff as you, that are not remotely geographically located, because you will have a more honest conversation with a business, for you in Illinois, with a business lawyer in Florida or California or New York or Texas. Like, you're never going to have the overlap of competition, which is a different discussion. But like, it's so nice to be able to share those things. But then also you want to have connections to local people, whether they do what you do or don't, because they'll know the judges, they'll know opposing counsels, they'll know other lawyers in the community. Like, there's a benefit from both sides.
For sure.
And so with COVID, with technology, with Facebook, with whatever, like, connect with other lawyers that do the same thing as you across the country. You never know what will come from it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Even if it's just complaining about the same problems and knowing that, like, there's this weird comfort in all of us knowing that we all have the same problems, right? Like, you don't want to go to the doctor's office and be like, hey, you've got Danya disease. We've never seen this before. You want it to be like, we've seen this a million times. We know, here, one pill, it's fine.
Yeah. You're just gonna feel, yeah, no, I love that. That it's nice. It's really, what's the expression I'm thinking of? Like, that you're not crazy. Like, sometimes, if nobody's having a problem, and I think sometimes people have their problems, but they just don't like to admit it. It's like, I am normal. Like, this is normal, and that's okay. I'm not the crazy one having this problem, and there's a way to address it. Yeah, but if you think they don't have a problem, you have a problem, and you're just, it's lonely for sure.
So as we get towards the end, anything else you'll make sure we cover when it comes to creating that dream, the art of business? Anything that we've missed out on?
No, I think we covered everything.
Awesome. All right. So thank you to everybody who has joined us. We'll hopefully see you back here next week for our next episode of Exhibit A Attorneys. What would be the most important thing, the biggest nugget of wisdom, the biggest takeaway for them, so that they can be the Exhibit A of a successful attorney such as yourself?
It's okay to make mistakes. Part of why I think we try to copy other people, or we don't want to do things differently, is that we're afraid of falling on our face and making a fool out of ourselves. And I will say that that's okay, and it will happen no matter what anyway. So you might as well live your life in courage and the way that you want to, and that it happens to everybody. Like, mistakes happen to everybody, and it's not as bad once you're on the other side. So it's okay to make mistakes, do what you want to do, live your life the way that you want to. And that's my biggest takeaway.
I had a mentor of mine gave me the ultimate mind perspective shift, let's call it. It's like, if you know you're going to screw up 9 times to get it right, you look forward to each of those mistakes because it's one step closer the right way.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I always keep that in mind, but every time I do keep that in mind, every mistake, every change, every tweak is on the path towards what I was hoping for to begin with.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Mistakes are okay.
So for anybody who's been listening to this and is smart enough to want to connect with you more, hear what you have to say, follow your story, what's the best place for them to get in touch?
Email. So it's my first name, Danya at motivalaw.com. That's MOTIVA law.com. Email is definitely the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. And for anybody who is watching this on Facebook, we will drop that in the comments. If you're listening to just the audio, you got to figure it out. But Danya spelled it for you.
Danya at motiva law.com.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much, Danya, our guest. Thank you to everybody who took some time to watch and listen to this. We will see you back next week for another wonderful episode of Exhibit A Attorneys. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.
Bye.